You are listening to the Marketing 32 Show with your host, Brett Allen.
Hi, Brett Allen here, host of the Marketing 32 Show, where I connect with leading dentists, dental influencers, and industry experts to bring you guys the latest and greatest insights and innovations to help you grow your practice and thrive. This episode is brought to you by our team here at Marketing 32. As always, we are the only dental marketing team that I know of that with a performance guarantee. That means we're truly invested in the growth of your marketing and your practice. You grow or you don't pay us. We really try to find practices we know we can help and deliver ethical, honest marketing and growth. To learn more and set up a call with a member of our team to see if we'd be a great fit together, head over to marketing32.com. Quick shout out to Shelly Van Epps. Awesome episode recently recorded with her all about training at the front desk and hiring. If you guys are struggling finding hygienists or team members right now in this weird economy that we're in, check out that episode. She's got a lot of great advice. Today, I'm excited to introduce a new friend of mine, thanks to Dr. Jeff Grove, who we recently had on the show. Doug Fettig is a CPA and MBA who travels the country inspiring dentists to lead, live with an abundance mindset. Super excited to talk about that. To think like a CEO and plan for the retirement of their dreams. Doug, welcome to the show. Excited to have you on.
Thanks, Brad. It's great to be here, and I enjoyed meeting you through Jeff and learning about your world, and so I knew this was going to be a fun, informative time.
Yeah, we'll have a great time together. I love talking about mindset and this concept of abundance and scarcity. I know we'll dig into that, but before we kind of get into that, I'd love to hear more about kind of your story and how you got into dentistry and now traveling around the country and the world speaking and leading dentists with your expertise. Tell us about that.
Well, I like to tell people I'll never be a speaker at a college commencement ceremony because my first line would be, the best decision I ever made was dropping out of college. And then I'll pause for a gasp from the parents. And then I'll say the second best decision was going back 7 years later. But I did drop out of school. I was bored and directionless, and I ended up getting a one-way ticket from Bismarck, North Dakota to Hamburg, Germany, and started hitchhiking around Europe. And that led to 7 years of travel and doing weird jobs like blackjack dealer and bartender and door-to-door World Book Encyclopedia salesman.
Oh, wow.
We're going to pause here for a second while young people look up what an encyclopedia is. But anyway.
Right. Yeah. I just saw on Facebook somebody posting their set that they're getting rid of.
Oh, yeah.
Like, nobody needs those anymore.
Now, I had 8 siblings, so we didn't have a lot of money, but we even had the childcraft version. We had the maroon one for kids. So we had both the adult and the child version. So we were
awesome.
living large on knowledge. But I eventually went back to school and I kind of fell into accounting and got a CPA because I knew I could do it and I needed a job. And I eventually was like, you know what? I kind of like people more than debits and credits. So I kept my CPA and eventually morphed into working for a regional CPA firm doing business development work for them, introducing them to CFOs and CEOs. And they came to me one day and said, hey, Doug, we have a dental niche. There's about 200 dentists that we do work for, and our partner's retiring. Would you be interested in taking over the dental niche and picking up some of his public speaking duties that he had acquired? And I said, well, I've been to the dentist, so why not? So I knew nothing about dentistry. That was 10 years ago, and the retiring partner took me under his wing for 6 months, and I learned the ropes and learned some of the basics of his talks, and I kind of used that to launch myself into the dental world. And eventually, after 5 years, left the CPA firm and started doing my own thing, doing talks around the country for all the big boy dental groups, study clubs, associations. I think part of the reason why I've had some success is that I joke with people when people go to an all-day event and they see like 11 to 12 so-and-so CPA, they're like, oh my gosh, just kill me now, right? So I try to make it entertaining. I have a money gun and I have walk-up music and funny videos because you've got to keep the audience awake and entertained, or they're not going to be able to learn anything and take action.
Right.
So we've all been in training where someone puts up a slide, 400 words on it, and starts reading it.
Yeah.
And you're like, kill me now, right? I'm done.
Right. There's some etiquette. Presentation etiquette. Yeah.
Well,
strategy.
I fell into dentistry and I embraced it with an abundant mindset.
That's awesome. So, what's in your experience after working as a CPA and working with dentists? What's like the biggest challenge or aha kind of thing that you've experienced with them that you've helped walk them through?
To me, dentistry is an interesting profession. It's kind of bass backward in the sense that a dentist gets out of school. Maybe they even take over their parents' practice. They become a CEO at the age of 32 and don't even know they're a CEO, right? They've had zero business training, zero leadership training. In the normal world, you work your way up through a company, you acquire skills, you become a senior manager, you become a director, maybe eventually you become a CEO. But in dentistry, it's like, nope, boop, right to the top.
You're right there.
And so the problem is twofold. The first problem is a first world problem. Most dentists are never going to be on food stamps. So there's an inertia that takes hold. They're in their little bubble, they're doing okay. But they're reacting to day-to-day emergencies. They feel like they're on a hamster on a treadwheel that they can't get off. And so the second problem or opportunity is that dentists don't understand that to be a successful CEO, you have to surround yourself with experts to help you grow. Otherwise, you become the bottleneck. If everything has to go through you, whether it's your expertise or not, you become the bottleneck for growth, and you semi um, make your life worse, stress, relationships, everything else. You're trying to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember reading a book. I was in college. My emphasis was entrepreneurship. I always wanted to do my own thing. And the book was called The E Myth. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. It's a very popular book. But that's the concept, right? Like when you start something or when you get thrown into something like owning a dental practice, initially you're the guy and you gotta run everything and figure everything out. But you got to transition into delegation and leadership and hire out all of those day-to-day responsibilities, and that can be hard for some people, especially if they don't have any kind of leadership background, right?
Yeah.
Or any
So
kind of formal training or
when I
yeah.
do my talks, Brett, there's maybe let's say there's 50 dentists in the audience, and I ask them, okay, how many of you have ever had formal leadership training? Maybe 10% raise their hands. I'm like, okay, let me get this straight. So the rest of you got all the leadership training that you needed in dental school, and they laugh because they didn't get any, right? So then it's tough love time. I'm like, okay, you're the most important person in the practice. You're the primary producer. You're the keeper of the culture. But you can't take a little bit of time and money and invest in yourself to become a great leader. Help me understand this, guys,
Yeah.
gals. And they kind of look like, because you can do all these other things. But one of my favorite quotes by Peter Drucker: culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Mm,
You have to focus on culture first if you want to maximize the potential of your practice, because that's how you maximize the potential of your team. Culture is
mm.
everything. And some dentists, Brett, are like, well, I don't yell at my team members and I pay them on time. Okay, that's a low
That's
bar.
that
Right,
culture.
bro?
Yeah.
That's a low bar.
That's the minimum, right?
And then everybody complains about staffing shortages. Okay, I'm less likely to play a small little violin for you on staffing shortages if you haven't tried to become the greatest leader you can.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. So what kind of leadership recommendations do you usually share when you're speaking with dentists? What kind of tips do you have? Is it hiring consultants? Is it doing, going through training? Is it what do you recommend?
Well, I think at the top level, it's finding a leadership, if you want to call them a leadership coach or a mentor, a guide that you're comfortable working with.
Hmm.
Because let's think about, like, I'm a tennis fan, right? I was just watching some Wimbledon this morning. The greatest tennis players in the world hire a coach. Right?
Mm,
Federer, Novak,
yeah,
Nadal, they all have a coach. So why wouldn't we think, in order to become the best at what we're doing, that we couldn't benefit from a coach or a guide?
100%.
And here's the problem, I think. In order to do that, you have to be willing to be vulnerable and to be willing to go through some pain to grow. And I think a lot of people, like I said, hey, I'm not on food stamps, screw it. I don't need a coach. And so it's that power of inertia. And sometimes I think that fear of being vulnerable. That's 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 what's required in order to grow, in my opinion.
Yeah, being authentic. A lot of times we don't want to be authentic and share what we're going through and share the challenges we have. I don't know what it is, and maybe at our culture, our upbringing, but we kind of look at that as frowned upon, like, oh, I'm weak by
I think
sharing my
yeah,
struggles.
I think it's changing slowly, and it's changing also in a kind of in the whole mental health sphere. My wife is a lifelong mental health nurse, and there's become, I think, it's when I was a kid, nobody talked about depression or anything. That was off the table.
Yeah,
I mean, that was
yeah,
a sign of weakness. It
right.
still might be, but I think it's changing maybe slowly. And my wife does some talks on stress and burnout, and it's becoming more acceptable for people to say, I need some help here,
Hmm.
and to reach out for it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. You touched on some things there when you were talking about getting help that resonated with this concept that you mentioned earlier about abundance mindset. Um, let's kind of segue into that a little bit. I love talking about this. I think there's definitely, as I've gotten older, I can see this more and more in the world around me and in relationships and differences in way people approach the world. Share with us specifically what you want about this, and let's go deep on that.
So, so I usually open up my talks talking about the power of mindset. And when I talk about scarcity versus abundance, I think a lot of people have heard those terms. They become kind of in vogue. And in reality, all scarcity is that you see things as a zero-sum game. If there's a pie, if my slice of the pie gets bigger, yours has to get smaller because there's winners and losers in every transaction. The abundance mindset is totally different. It's like you and I can work together, Brett, and we can expand the pie. My slice can get bigger, and your slice can get bigger. It's a completely different mindset. And I'll segue. We touched on this in the pre-talk. I'll segue into a very personal story. Um, our middle son was born prematurely, lived for 7 days before he died, which was
Oh
obviously
wow.
devastating. One of the ways we learned from that was by, you can think of it as a coach. We went to a grief therapist who was amazing. Okay, and out of that experience, my wife and I decided, well, we had two choices. We could let our son Parker's experience be one that led us down a path of being resentful and angry, or we could say, how do we celebrate his time on this earth? How do we make the most of it, and help other people? And so we said we want to go the path of celebrating his life, and we created a nonprofit that helped people who had babies in the NICU, and it was a way of honoring our son Parker, but also using that abundant mindset to say, no, we're not going to err on the side of scarcity. We're going to take this event, can't change the past. We're going to take this event and say, how can we make the most of this experience and help other people?
Mm. That's powerful. Yeah, I can imagine that was hard for you. Thank
Sure.
you for sharing that. I can only imagine. I imagine it's hard for people who have lost loved ones in similar ways or in tragic accidents. Right now, the flooding in
Oh,
Texas, it happened. We just moved to Colorado, but last summer we moved here. But that was about an hour from my house where all that flooding was, and I
incredible.
can only imagine what all of those families are going through with grieving the loss of their little girls and other family members. Just you don't expect things like that. So, how walk us through a little bit more, maybe some examples or tips to reframe
Right.
and to shift out of the woe is me
Hmm.
and grieve. Obviously there's space and time that everyone needs to grieve,
Of
and
course.
you have to respect that. But how do you how if you're a chronic scarcity mindset person, right, where you're just constantly looking
Yes.
at the world like a zero sum game, um, what are some strategies and tips to
And
shift
so,
that
yeah,
focus?
and obviously there's less dramatic examples, but there's people
Right.
I equate it. So when my boys were younger, they're now 32 and 27. When they were little, they loved Winnie the Pooh. So people who know Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore, right? Eeyore would walk around with this cloud over
Yeah, the
his head.
cloud.
So if you walk around like an Eeyore, well, gee, what kind of people are you going to attract, Brett? Probably other Eeyores.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be complaining.
Even if you even attract them, that maybe that Eeyore wants to be the only Eeyore, so you might not even attract them. So there's a couple of very simple but extremely effective things that one can do. There's been a lot of studies done on, it sounds so simple, the power of keeping a gratitude journal. So
I've
if
heard of
you
that.
take the time, if you take they've done studies, I can reference some stuff. If at the end of the day, if you take the time, and it's important to write them down, there's a power in writing. If you write
Hmm.
down in a journal 3 things that you're thankful for that day, that simple step helps change someone's mindset to one of gratitude.
Mm.
And then I take
Mm.
that another step further. I also believe in creating, I call it a generosity journal. So then I also write down 3 acts of generosity that I hopefully committed that day or was engaged in. And it starts to change your mindset to one of the 2 G's, gratitude and generosity.
Mm.
And so I'm not saying someone can change their personality, but I think you can help to focus your mind on those things that maybe you haven't focused on before.
Mm.
So if someone's an
Yeah.
introvert, they're an introvert. That's fine. Someone's an extrovert, they're an extrovert. I'm not saying change your personality. I'm saying help train your mind to appreciate what you're grateful for and how you've helped other people.
Yeah. Gratitude's so powerful. I remember first time I really learned the power of that was at a Tony Robbins. I was at an event and Tony Robbins was a keynote closing speaker, and he talked for like 6 hours. It was phenomenal, and it was so many eye opening moments. But one of the things what he shared was there was a study done, and you'll have to Google this to find this, but they did a study where they mapped brain waves against an EKG heart wave, and they put people in stressful situations. And then they had people focus on the same group of people focus on gratitude and
Mm,
the events of their life they were most thankful for, and to just sit in those moments. And in the stressful moments, the the waves were like all chaotic when they overlapped them with the EKG. But in the gratitude moments, they were perfectly in sync. It
gosh,
was amazing. So it's like there's something you're tapping into
yes.
with just your soul, maybe. I don't know how to say it, but gratitude, and this was Tony Robbins' point, was it's a tool that you can use in any moment to reset and to just say you're going through the worst day, say you're going through some really challenging thing. Doing that the gratitude journal, gratitude exercise, visualization is one way that you can just help reset and regain kind of your mindset, like you said, around abundance. I mean that's a good recommendation.
I have a few reminders that pop up on my phone every day so I can see them. And one is that this is something I believe in, that every interaction we have with another human being is an opportunity to make the world a better place or
Mm,
not. That's a choice we make. Every single interaction we have. So you're at the
yeah,
coffee shop and you're late for work, and the person in front of you doesn't understand what the menu. So you can come up and take that out on the barista, or you can have a different type of interaction. And you know what's funny, Brett? People will be in line, right? And it's like, gosh, this line's taking forever to get my coffee. Or someone went out of turn at the four-way stop, and you get all pissed off, right? But that same person will stay in a job they don't like for 10 years and be a victim. It's so weird. Why are we doing this? Like we're
yeah,
living something that's so important in our life, like work that we don't like. We'll do that for 10 years, but we get pissed off when we have to wait in line an extra minute for Starbucks. It's like, what are we doing here, guys?
yeah, yeah.
This
Got to
makes sense to me,
reframe
Brett.
it. Yeah. Well, you mentioned, yeah, it's bizarre, right?
It is.
Yeah, some of the things we tolerate or the decisions we make, like the trades we make, like to
Yes.
spend all this time and just to find the deal on something on Amazon. You waste hours trying to find the lowest price on something. When if you just bought the first thing you found, you know, then use that time to maybe go do something more valuable.
I
Like
love that.
there's so many trades like that we make throughout the day that we're just maybe it's wiring from our youth or something where we're just focused too much on how
There- There's
yeah
there's people that are drive to an ATM 2 miles away because it's a 50-cent less fee for the. Okay, is your
right
time not worth anything?
right time and gas
Come
money.
on.
It's like
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, what are we doing here? One of the
Oh
things I
man.
like is that there's always time to make more money, but never time to make more time.
Time is the most valuable resource for sure.
Yeah,
Bill,
I don't care
let's
if
talk
it's
about
you or me or
something.
Elon Musk. Yeah, time is the most important resource.
Yeah, we all only have 24 hours in a day. It's amazing what some people can do with that time and, and accomplish so much more than others and impact, right? Well, let's talk about you mentioned here that you do planning for the retirement of their dreams. You help dentists do that, talking about time, right? As time's running out, let's talk about retirement. How do you do that? How do you plan for the retirement of your dreams?
Well, obviously, if I'm talking to someone who's younger, it's a little easier than if they're older because we're going to get into something,
Yeah.
yeah, the concept of the power of time and compound returns.
Yeah.
As Einstein said, compound returns are the eighth wonder of the world. And I give some examples. If you save even a modest amount and start saving at a young age and do that consistently, so it's two pronged. You have to save the money, but then how you invest it also makes a difference. If you leave it in a savings account and get 0.5% interest, obviously you're not going to keep up with inflation.
Mm.
I advise young people. This is not, don't quote me here, but if you look at the stock market, if you're young and you put your savings into like an S&P 500 index fund with almost no fees, over time, the people that work for Google and General Motors and fill in the blank of the other 498 S&P 500, their job every day is to go to work and create wealth, and they're pretty good at it, and you get a small piece of that. So you're making money when you're sleeping at night when you're investing in the stock market because they're churning, man. They're just cranking and they're making money. And you get a small piece of that. So I give an example. If you're 35 years old and you throw $100,000 into the stock market, average return of 8%, blah blah blah. That 100 grand by the time you're 65 will turn into $1 million. Okay. If you wait till you're 50 to throw that 100 grand in the stock market, when you're 65, it won't even have reached 300,000 because
Wow.
it has less time to
Just
grow.
that one-time investment grows
Yes,
that you
just
just
that one-time investment. Yeah,
reinvest the gains, right?
you're investing and it's growing through the stock. And so if you started investing even like a couple $100 a month when you're younger, and you throw it in there and never stop, that's the key. The key is consistency and time.
Yeah.
That's the key. So it's not a fancy answer. If someone's 58 and wants a magical way, there is no magical way when you're
Yeah.
58. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you can take massive risk and throw it all into Bitcoin.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
You go to
I heard
Vegas.
a yeah, I had a so have you heard the name Alex Hermosi? Have you heard that
No.
name?
Mm,
He's kind of big in the entrepreneurship world, marketing world. I met him through a mastermind with Russell Brunson, founder of ClickFunnels. We were together for a number of years, and he's gone off and done some amazing things. Alex has, but I was listening to him once. He was talking about how the Goldman Sachs, I think it was, did a study on the wealthiest return accounts in their
okay.
across their users or investors or whatever. Um, and the biggest growth accounts, the ones that have had the outsized returns, are the ones that either people have died, so they didn't know about it, or they didn't have their login. They lost their login, didn't know how much money they had in their account, so they never touched it.
I love it.
Everybody else has made emotional changes and trying to bet on the
Oh,
on the ups and buy on sell on the high and buy on the lows, and it's like you can never time the market, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
If you
but
try to time the
I thought that was
market,
fascinating.
yeah, you have to time it twice correctly. You have to time it when to take it out and then when to put it back in. Maybe be one of that million people that can do it, but in general, you're so much. So here, I'll give you an example. My brother and I have four brothers, so you can't pin down which one it is. I have four brothers and four sisters. It was a different time. So one of my brothers, after 9/11, I don't know if you call this reborn yet. Just kidding. After 9/11, the stock market was closed for like 3 days. It was closed.
Yeah, they should. I remember that they shut it
My
down. Yeah,
brother called me and said, "What should I do? Should I pull all my money out of stocks?" And I said, "God, no. It's going to drop, or you're just going to lock in your losses. It's going to drop a lot on day one." So people make fear-based decisions, and when you do that, when you sell low, you've locked in your loss, right? So I said, "Don't do it. Don't do anything." Sure enough, after 6 months, it was back up. It dropped dramatically, right? And people freaked out.
right.
Rest easy, lose your password, don't touch anything, and let the market do its long-term magic. And that's what happened. That's what happened again during the Great Recession.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that 2009, 2008.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it happened again during COVID. It started COVID, huge
yeah.
drop. And so,
It's amazing. You look at the growth. over time, it's like crazy.
Oh,
Like,
it's
like,
crazy up.
yeah, it's crazy up. And so I'm like, wow, can this continue like this? Are we just gonna go to? Is the Dow gonna go to 100,000? It's
Well,
like,
well, probably because eventually, because now you throw in artificial intelligence, so companies can become more productive with fewer workers, which is an issue if you're one of those fewer workers they don't need. But if you're
yeah,
an investor in the company, they're going to become more profitable with less fewer workers.
yeah,
It's impacting. Let's say I'm a CPA doing basic accounting work. That's gonna go by the wayside. I think there's all
yeah,
these kind of jobs that are going to become less important or less needed.
yeah. Yeah, I think AI is changing a lot already in dentistry. We use AI with our call tracking software.
Mhm.
I've talked about this on the show before. We have a dashboard we developed that listens to well, it doesn't listen to the calls. We have a call software that transcribes the calls, and then we have an AI on top of that that will categorize the calls and show the front desks, hey, this is your booking rate for one. If you don't know what your booking rate is, you should. Two, this is the reason why a patient's not scheduling when they're talking to you. So let's fix that. And it's huge when talking about marketing and what patients are coming from your marketing, how to capitalize on that. AI is awesome, and I think a friend of mine he was telling me, I think, and I agree with him. I think it'll help us be way more resourceful and allow us to do other things with our times, and we'll see much more innovation come from humans than we did before because we're not doing some of the menial tasks that AI can do now. And so it's an exciting time for sure. But
Well,
yeah, we kind of
it's sad of you to incorporate AI into marketing what you're doing because the ones who don't are going to be, I think, left behind.
yeah, yeah. It's like people on paper charts still, right? It's like, whew,
And then
I
you
don't know how
then you
you
have
do that.
then you have dentists I talk to that are incorporating robotics into their dentistry.
Yeah, yeah.
They
The
know
Yomi
robotics.
robot.
The
Yeah,
Yomi's incredible.
yeah,
I know a dentist out of
amazing.
Boston. He's cutting edge, right? So I love these entrepreneurial thinkers that are willing to take a risk because
Mhm.
they know at a minimum they're going to learn a lot. It may not work out exactly as they planned, but they're going to learn a ton by taking that risk.
Yep, yep, yeah. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. This has been fascinating. We talked about your background. We talked about abundance, leadership training, AI, stocks, retirement. So much. It sounds like you've got, and when you speak, you can speak for hours. So I imagine you have a lot that you can share. You guys, you
Well,
got to check out Doug's content, um, and check out his website. Before we go to contact details and how people can get in touch with you, I always ask people one last question before we part, and that is, if there's one epiphany or mindset shift, one golden piece of advice that you could share that would give a ripple effect or have a ripple effect across many facets of a dentist's either life or their practice, what would be that one piece of advice that you think is really,
well,
really
to,
good?
to me it goes back, and I'm going to give you a quote in a second, but it goes back to I believe the only thing we can truly control is our mind and our perception of things and how we react to things. And we can't
Mhm.
control much in the world, but we can control our reaction to it and how we perceive things. And so one of my favorite quotes is, and I don't know the author, the biggest wall you have to climb is the one in your mind. It all starts and ends right here. And if we go through our day and our life with a negative mindset or with a scarcity mindset, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Well, Doug, this has been an awesome time. If people want to get in touch with you or they want you to come speak at their events or they want to hire you for your CPA service or whatever, I don't know if you even do that.
I
Where
don't do
should
any
we send
robo
them?
work. I'm a talker. Um,
You're a talker.
there's two ways. My website, which is long, but I think it's clever. It's Doug Fettig at dentaldollarsandcents.com, SENSE. So Doug Fettig at dentaldollarsandcents.com. And then and believe it or not, I give up my cell number because, hey, don't call me. Text me first, though, guys. I won't answer if you call me. It's an unknown. 503-314-7062. And I will respond to you and would love to learn your story. And if there's a way that I can connect to other people that can help you grow.
Texting is great. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you again, Doug. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. And I look forward to tracking your future success and to staying connected with you, Brett.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, until next time, you guys on the Marketing 32 show, have a great day and a great rest of your week. Take care.
See ya.